Welcome back to Irish Illustrated Insider, Senior Week Edition. I'm Tim O'Malley, joined by Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated and John Bryce of Football Scoop, who will be sitting down shortly. We just finished 30 minutes with Marcus Freeman. Timmy had some injury updates. We'll have press conference takeaways and a review of Notre Dame's most likely last test, purported test going into the contest against Pittsburgh. It turned out not to be one, although they played a little bit of salty defense. The major injury update is that Marcus Freeman spoke frankly about Jaden Greathouse for the first time because I think they're at that point where it would make no sense not to.
Now, one more, and he loses a year of eligibility, and Notre Dame loses a year of eligibility with him if he's with Notre Dame next year, which, of course, is a strong possibility. Gabe Rubio will be back for postseason play. That's great to hear. And, really, Tim, the injury news is the health of a bunch of guys that have been injured. Yes. Josh Burnham is playing really, really well. Devontae Smith, the last two games, probably as well as he's played all season for Notre Dame. That's probably not a probably. That's true. And I had an eye out for Christian Gray pregame at Pittsburgh. And I just, he looked like a guy that was really, really excited to get back in action. He had a lot of bounce to his step, and he did some really good things. Marcus Freeman spoke really highly of him. So I think the bulk of the news is the health that a lot of these players that have been key players for Notre Dame this year that are finally able to play at a really high level. Junior Tui Alamaka barely even played the other day. Was that because Josh Burnham is healthy and playing so well? That the push that Notre Dame, man, when I had an opportunity to sit down and watch the TV version of it, the push that Notre Dame was getting with its defensive line, it reminded me a lot of the USC game when Notre Dame pushed their offensive line around.
JB, we were talking about injuries, and Noah Burnett listed as out. Cooper Flanagan listed as out. Micah Gilbert no longer on the injury list. As Priester said, no Devonta Smith on the injury list. No Josh Burnham on the injury list. It's guys that are back versus guys that absolutely are not coming back until the playoff. Well, maybe we could ask about Flanagan going into the Stanford game to see if, since Freeman has mentioned, you'll get Rubio and Greathouse if Greathouse wants to play back for the playoff. Hopefully Cooper Flanagan could be involved in that process as well.
Yeah, and he made the brief debut this season, but again, as we've noted, an Achilles recovery is a much different timeline than an ACL recovery, and he's just now closing in on almost 11 full months of recovery since the ACL injury. So that timeline makes sense. You want Notre Dame to find a way to get through these final two games, position itself as it needs to be positioned for the CFP, and then have 3 weeks between games. And I think that's going to be a significant development for Notre Dame, particularly as it relates to the status of guys like Gabriel Rubio and Billy Strouth, who I would contend are the two most important for Notre Dame to get back in December to have an enduring postseason run.
Yeah, and we have a question on that later. We're going to be ranking where we think these guys can come back and help. Takeaways for today's press conference. I know we just had instant analysis, of course. I wanted to follow up on, actually, my question did get cut. I'm going to ask it Thursday of Coach Freeman. It's an evergreen question for now about, look, man, they have a 39-point per game offense, top 10. They have a top 15 or 16 red zone touchdown offense, and they've failed to score a goal to go 8 times. I want to know how they kind of address it in practice. Maybe Thursday's better, actually. Not game plan wise, he's not going to tell you that, but how you address that in practice, what you look at, and is there a common denominator, Tim, for how they are not scoring down close? I know people are going to say, well, get under center. Well, don't do this. We'll do that. We'll make it creative. I don't think it's that simple. I feel like they're grasping at straws down there, and you never know what they're going to run because aside from when they block well for Jeremiah Love from about the 7-yard line, it hasn't been all that effective.
Well, I think most people would say that the common denominator is that Mike Denbrock's doing a lousy job. And frankly, if you're not scoring on goal to go, you are doing a poor job as offensive coordinator. Yeah. Now, what I wanted to try to explain to some people is, now what are some of the factors that are preventing it from happening? I mean, outside of play calls and getting under center and those kind of things that everybody wants to put on Denbrock. And again, that's fair. I get that, and it's his responsibility. But I think some pieces are missing, obviously, along the offensive line. The fact of the matter is, as great as Jadarian Price has been, he's had 3 fumbles. Were all of those goal to go, Tim, or those were all in the red zone?
They were all goal to go inside the 5. Remember, he
Okay,
lost 2.
right.
They
Okay,
didn't
right.
lose.
I knew there
They
was
scored
2. I
on
was
1.
trying to, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and even a thing like if you had a healthy 240-pound Kedron Young, you might have a solution to this. If you played Kenny Mitchie, that gives you a little bit different dimension, you would have a solution to this. The solution is not, I don't think it's CJ Carr under center, because he just doesn't, I mean, he doesn't run with power and pop. So unfortunately, and that was the point I was trying to make, that, yeah, Notre Dame's got they've got the best 1-2 punch in the country at running back, but one of them has fumbled. Jeremiah Love has had trouble getting into the end zone behind the offensive line. You don't have Cooper Flanagan. There are a variety of reasons why it's not working. It does all come back on Denbrock. I'm not trying to exonerate him from anything, but I think it's multifaceted, and Denbrock better get it figured out real quickly, because the teams that are coming up, or at least the third team coming up on the schedule, will be a lot better than Syracuse or Stanford.
I have Love with, 12, 13, 14, 15 run stuffs in goal to go situations this year. So some of it's on Jeremiah Love too. I mean, it's not on Jeremiah Love, but it's on the running game and Jeremiah Love. The offensive line has to execute and get in as well. That's a bit too much from inside the 10-yard line, right? 15 run stuffs on the best running back in the country.
That's shockingly surprising, but when it's a heavy box and it gets even heavier on the goal line, and I want to say that this is just an aside, but Sullivan Absher is playing from his first start. His second start was really, really good, and I think his third one, he's just playing with suddenness and quickness and intensity, and so that's a good sign. Sullivan Absher is developing, but not enough to get a stinking running back in from the 1 foot line against Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh makes it tough too. That's what Pittsburgh does. That's what they're known for.
Hey, JB, you're muted.
Sorry. Absher, you can see, is playing with a lot more confidence and comfort. I was going to ask you, T.O., how many of those Jeremiah Love run stuffs were in the Wild Love formation?
While you guys talk, I'll look that up. It's actually up to 17. I forgot the 2 run stuffs against Pittsburgh too. So 17 run stuffs. I will find out how many are the Wildcat though. Takeaways otherwise, guys, and of course we have goal to go questions coming up on this podcast as well. They're going to be goal. You know what? I could say eventually either after the Stanford game, there's going to be goal to go questions. Maybe not after Syracuse, but after the Stanford game, there's going to be a goal to go question, because it's going to go awry there as well.
Well, and Stanford's playing much better. Stanford has improved over the course of this season. He's even as the Cardinal continues to fly Andrew Luck around the country looking for its next head coach. That's really been happening. But Stanford has improved. Syracuse just has sort of stagnated and not been able to sustain any momentum. I know Marcus Freeman said a number of injuries there. I meant to look at the ACC injury availability report from last week, because I do remember seeing a number of Syracuse players listed on that.
There is some indication, that Syracuse's defense is playing a little better. I mean, they held Miami under 400. They held Pittsburgh to 255. They still lost. They're in a 6-game losing streak. They haven't won since Steve Angeli helped lead them to a win over Clemson, and that's when he suffered his Achilles injury. So there's some indication that they're getting better defensively. Syracuse, that is, but they still gave up 41 to Georgia Tech, and they gave up 38 to Miami. They are coming off a bye. It's offensively where they're so bad. Ricky Collins is not prepared to start at quarterback. Even for a bad Syracuse team, they've actually it's Joseph Filardi, a walk-on. They started him in Game 9 against North Carolina. That certainly didn't help. But I didn't want to mention Marcus Freeman mention it on the instant analysis about, hey, it was not on Coach Narduzzi for calling timeouts as to why Pittsburgh scored that last touchdown. It's up to the defense to stop it. I thought that was a good thing for him to own up to, because it was a chilly greeting on the field after the game. And Marcus being Marcus, he probably felt bad about that, because that's the kind of guy that he is. But I thought it was good that he brought that up, and I would guess that he addressed that with Narduzzi.
I was just going to quickly add on the Syracuse and the injuries. I looked it up. They had 13 or 14 players officially listed out in their most recent game, according to the ACC pool report. So it's not just Steve Angeli. They've really been pretty ravaged by injuries.
I was glad Eric Hansen asked the question about the eschewed late field goal attempt. There was a chance for a 42-yard field goal attempt for Eric Schmidt, and Marcus gave the honest answer of, our analytics say what if it's going to be, we're going to go for it when it's 4th and 5 or under, and it was 4th and 5, and they threw a 4-yard pass. Malachi Fields needed to run the route 1 yard deeper or break a tackle, or maybe CJ Carr had to throw it a little lower and quicker so he could turn into it and break that tackle. But I think analytics aside there, that was an opportunity to see if Eric Schmidt could get some positive momentum going. I think you ignore analytics when it's 37-9 in that situation, and you try to see if your kicker, because you don't need analytics at 37-9 with 3 minutes left. You need to see if your kicker can get a little bit of confidence going in. It's not going to be that much easier to kick in South Bend on a Saturday night, although right now we have nice weather. It could end up getting a little rainy again that day. Guys, Eric Schmidt, coupled with goal-to-go offense, is a fatal flaw. That's all there is to it. They're playing teams that can't beat them.
It is. I want to, before we're accused of burying the lead, which we didn't in instant analysis, I do want to say that Notre Dame, I mean, their defense against Pittsburgh was spectacular. Marcus Freeman called it. He said the defense was lights out. They held a good offense, with a real upstart freshman quarterback to 25 points under the scoring average, 200 yards under the total defense. But yeah, that is it's they have to solve that. Marcus Freeman's going to do everything he possibly can to solve that issue in the goal to go. I think there are some answers out there. Maybe James Flanagan is, although Marcus Freeman spoke very highly about the way he played. It was mainly the block that he threw on the 56-yard touchdown run, where he came from the other side of the formation and set a block on the opposite side. And I imagine they chose him to do that because he's quick. He's a quick tight end, and he was able to get there and seal the edge, while Raritan sealed the other edge, and the defensive tackles were smashed on the inside. But they have got to come up with a solution there. If they come up with a solution there, this is a pretty damn well-rounded, complete football team.
Yeah, good point on Flanagan, TP, because not only has he got some suddenness and athleticism to him, but he's got a big frame, wide shoulders. And so if he's able to lock on you to block, that's real problematic for a lot of defenders. And that's when I specifically noted him Saturday against Pitt. To your point, T.O., about specialists, I think it's vitally important to have Eric Schmidt kick a field goal this weekend in a home game. And here's why. Because you're not going to play again this year at Pitt. You're not going to play again this year at Stanford. But you're hoping like hell you're hosting a playoff game. You better have him make a field goal inside Notre Dame Stadium this Saturday rather than a month from now, December 21st or 22nd, when your season could be on the line. So I just think whatever. Look, I'm not saying you get to 1st and goal at the 5 and you say,
of course not.
Eric Schmidt time, but you find the scenario that works and you give him every opportunity to make a field goal during the play of the game Saturday on Senior Day.
Notre Dame comes in at number 9, AP and coaches. No surprise. We're going to get a little bit more into this in segment 2. But before we get into how to lose a basketball game 101, Tim Priester and John Bryce, I know Bryce covered that game for Irish Illustrated. I wanted to bring up where we think they'll land. I still think it'll be number 9 in the poll that matters. And what maybe to watch out for a little bit. We're going to it's not the Snake River Farm segment, but Oklahoma was the one that hurt Notre Dame most, I think, this past week, and it helped that Texas lost. The two of them together would have been a problem.
I'm interested in both you guys. You don't think Oklahoma moves ahead of Notre Dame?
Yeah,
I do. They're already ahead of Notre Dame in the AP and in the coaches poll. I'm worried about Oklahoma. Frankly, I'm worried about Alabama knocking Notre Dame to the 10 spot.
10 spot, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is going to happen.
That's what I would work for, because when they start evaluating tomorrow evening down in Grapevine, Texas, Here's what I'm going to tell you is like Georgia, no, Alabama's win at Georgia is going to trump any win that Notre Dame has on
Yeah.
its schedule. And so when you look at those two teams, I would not at all be surprised to see Notre Dame at the 10 and Alabama at the 9, which
Yeah, I misspoke. I felt
That's yeah.
they would be jumped by Oklahoma and not lose out to Alabama, and Texas would have bumped them even further down. Texas would have jumped them too.
correct, correct. So yeah, they needed both to lose. Texas more or less eliminated itself, the same that Tennessee in losing to Oklahoma eliminated itself, but Oklahoma stayed alive. Oklahoma has Missouri and
Yeah.
LSU left. I think both those games are at home for the Sooners, so that's not the most challenging schedule. If I'm Notre Dame, first of all, you keep handling business in these final two games, but secretly, if you're watching these rankings and you're watching scoreboards, you hope like hell Oklahoma finds a third loss. You don't want to be coming to the selection Sunday, that first Sunday in December, and be sitting there 10-2 alongside Oklahoma and Alabama. I just don't think that's a good scenario for Notre Dame.
Oklahoma, I I think this is the one. If Oklahoma is going to trip up, I think it's Missouri more than LSU in the finale. Oklahoma opened as a 10.5 point favorite, immediately went to 9.5 5 seconds later. I think that's because some people also believe Missouri is going to put up a fight, and Oklahoma's trajectory also is not this straight line, getting better all the time. You got to bounce back now from that big win. Missouri and LSU, that's not the easiest. I know that's not the easiest path. You couple those two together. You want to play in Missouri and LSU if you're Notre Dame right now? I wouldn't think that would be the greatest thing if you're an Irish fan watching.
No, and LSU's feeling good about themselves. They pulled one out against Arkansas at home, and so I saw some stuff on Twitter about it. This is how it's supposed to be. I don't know that they fully have found the answers post Brian Kelly quite yet. But yeah, I agree, Tim. I mean, that's a program with a lot of pride. You don't necessarily want to be playing them in the last game of the regular season in a must-win situation.
John Bryce, go ahead, JB.
I was just going to quickly say Frank Wilson will have them motivated. Getting that win was key for them, and Frank Wilson is certainly auditioning for jobs out there down the stretch. So he's very invested in having the Tigers play well, and they play hard for Frank Wilson. He's a native guy there. It's his second or third stint at LSU. So LSU doesn't appear like it's going to lay down, but the fact that Oklahoma gets both of those games at home, um, that's not ideal for the what's at stake rooting against segment.
JB, you covered the basketball game for Irish Illustrated on Sunday. I tuned in. I got home just in time from my Aero bus and Charlie O'Malley's basketball game to watch the entire second half. It reminded me of second halves of a lot of college basketball games where you absolutely abandon every principle of offense and just give the ball to your best player and hopes he bails you out. Well, unfortunately, he was not shooting well anyway.
Yeah,
That's my takeaway from that horrendous finish to a basketball game.
yeah, and the respect I have for Tom Noy is very established. So he and I were having a friendly debate about this prior to Marcus Freeman's press conference today. On at home, I will excuse it a little bit more. On the road, when you haven't had any kind of tests to start this season, in your first three games, you've played some candy cane opponents. I don't believe in exiting the court with three timeouts in my pocket. You're never getting them back. Like if you could save them and use them in conference play, then I could make a case for being judicious with your timeouts. But when you saw there wasn't anything there immediately after
Right.
after Ohio State scores to take the lead with 13 seconds left, if you're not pushing tempo right there and getting straight to the rack with 6 or 7 seconds left, then that's where I call timeout. And then if you design your play and it's well defended, guess what? You still have two more in your pockets to like this is college ball. This is not the NBA where you have a guy that's accustomed who wants the ISO play because he's a pro. And Marcus Burton is good. He's an all ACC performer. He's not yet a pro. And I thought that was one of those in this season, I call those ahead of the curve games. That was an ahead of the curve win that was there for the taking for Notre Dame all game long, and they found a way not to take it despite winning the rebounding battle, maybe 36 to 28.
Decisively, yeah.
Yeah, and then this is in my story. They also won bench scoring 17 to 6. You did so much good. You were terrible at free throws, 12 of 20, They were 19 to 23. So that's one place where you lost the game. You committed more turnovers than you handed out assists. That's another place where you lost the game. But in spite of all those things, you had three timeouts, the ball in your hand, and 10, 11 seconds to set your best play. That's what it's for.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, it clearly was there for the taking. Notre Dame was the better team for the vast majority of the game. There's no doubt about that. And here's the problem. I mean, because you had an opportunity and you let it slip away. You have Kansas coming up in Vegas. You have Rutgers coming up in Vegas. You have Missouri. You have a trip to TCU. You had an opportunity to get Ohio State and you didn't get him. In a perfect world, I think, I realize he's a freshman. He's only played a few games, but I'd rather the ball's in his hand and let him penetrate with his length and his reach and maybe kick something to Marcus Burton, although Marcus Burton's not shooting well, didn't shoot well the other day. The free throw situation, essentially, JB, that was Sir Muhammad and Carson Tout. You've got to have Carson Tout on the floor because he's one of their best players, but he's a pretty dreadful free throw shooter, which is surprising to me. But he's just not. He's a 10, 12, 14 rebound per game guy, and you got to have him out there. But that was a huge missed opportunity, and you can't just say, oh, well, they played great on the road. It's a loss with all these good teams coming up, or at least, major conference teams coming up before you get into conference play, that you can't afford to let slip away.
Yeah, year one, you say, "Oh, I'm encouraged by how they played on the road." But when it's year three, it's time to start cashing some encouraging performances into victories.
Yeah, and here's the issue. They're going to have a lot of games that are coming down to the wire like this because they are a very competitive team this year. You're going to have a lot of conference games coming down to this. And unfortunately, I think you're going to have a lot of conference games that come down to let's hand the ball to our best player and hope he makes magic. As JB said, that, and I have said to you, Priester, for 20 years, and this is dating back to Chris Quinn. You run beautiful offensive sets all game, Mike Bray. Why do you hand the ball to one guard to see if you can beat somebody every single time?
I agree, but there's an epidemic in
it is.
basketball.
It's not only Notre Dame. You're right. It's a total epidemic.
Here's what it is. Here's the college football corollary. It is being in shotgun on third and goal at the one.
That was follow-up question to goal to go for Marcus Freeman today, but I will be asking Thursday, of course. I do wonder, I've asked him before if they could, I've asked CJ Carr before about practicing on a shotgun. It's not something they've done a lot, but Tyler Buckner could be the option.
Tyler Buckner could do it.
Tim Priester and I discussed on the elevator. We want to try to be fair to everybody here. He is coming in the game totally cold for a snap on 4th and 1 under center, in which he's got to snap the ball and run it in. So you have to rep that. You almost got to get him in before the most important.
Understandable, but Tim, they're 10 games into the season, and
of course, yeah. There's
I know, but I mean you have. Now, we don't know what they're practicing, or like we talk about Aeneas Williams. Maybe they've tried Aeneas Williams in practice and he fumbled. I don't know. I doubt that happened, but. We're just listing all these things. I would be curious to know how many they've actually tried, or if they've just tried to do it with the tried and true. The tried and true has not worked. It has not worked, and now the shadow of the playoffs are casting upon you, and you don't have a solution yet.
Segment 1 of Irish Illustrated Insider was brought to you by the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame in Elkhart, Indiana. In addition to the museum and its various exhibition halls, the campus is open to the public for free camping and is less than an hour from Notre Dame's campus. No reservation required. So whether you're looking to learn more about the history of recreational vehicles in the Kindlin Library or simply a cost-effective, interesting place to stay on your family road trip, the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame can provide exactly what you're looking for. We'll be back with segment 2, Burning Up the Boards. With football season in full swing, I've been looking to find the best deal on Notre Dame tickets, both for family and friends, but also as a memorable gift idea. That's why I want to offer the sponsor of today's Burning Up the Boards, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. So whether you're an Irish fan looking for a ticket to the AC/DC concert in September, or any of college football's playoff games coming up down the road, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. but every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use Irish10, that's all capital letters and the number 10, for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. 10% off any tickets with promo code Irish10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. First question for segment 2 is a two-parter. First from Phil Fell. The way Adon Schuler played that first third down stop with the big hit is an example of how the defense has evolved since week 1. If he plays the floater TD versus Miami that way, it's a totally different contest. Which group on offense and defense do you think has evolved most this season to be its best?
JB, go ahead.
I read this question earlier when T.O. sent the stuff, and the secondary is incredible right now. The way that Tate Johnson has come on and what he's doing, I don't think can be ignored. But I don't think you can call one without the, like, for me, I'm picking the entire defense. The entire defense is my selection for this question. They're top 30 nationally in total yards allowed per game. They're 17th nationally at 18.4 points per game. So for me, it's the defense. The offensive line has gotten better. It had to get better because I was pretty critical that opening game against Miami. That was the first time I thought a Notre Dame O-line under Marcus Freeman hadn't physically answered the bell at all. But to me, it's the entire defense. You can make some arguments for the O-line. You can make argument for the wide receiver core. But I think it's just the total defense, and that's Chris Ash. I know that's kind of a two-part question about Ash getting his flowers, and I think Marcus Freeman and Chris Ash, somewhere along the way, probably midway through the Purdue game, learned to work together much better, and that's where the growth is.
Well, it's hard to disagree with what you're saying, JB, as far as the whole defense, because the secondary is that performance against Pittsburgh was absolutely phenomenal. And I thought it's a great question by Phil Fell with regard to the tone setter that Schuler's hit was, contrary to C.J. Daniels' touchdown at Miami. But, man, the secondary's playing great. The safety, my goodness, the safety core is outstanding. Telich made a whole bunch of plays off the bench. He's a pretty valuable weapon. He's been playing pretty well himself. I don't know that – I don't think the defensive tackles were ever as bad as we imagined because – Miami, look, their big running backs got some crucial yards and stayed on the field and stuff like that. But if you even go back and look at the stats then, they weren't very bad. And now they're sensational. The linebacking core is sensational. Osbury's making plays. Bowen, KVA. Look, when you're an opposing offense and KVA is lined up anywhere near the line of scrimmage, you better account for him because he can free himself up and get after the quarterback. I think Bryce Young has played better here in recent weeks.
Yes,
he had a series of plays on Saturday. They're playing really, really well, and that's you can beat a lot of football teams when your defense is playing like that.
Interestingly enough, like offensive line now from game 1 is a ridiculous improvement. I'm not sure it's that much better now from game 4 though. And I think that could come into play a little bit. Of course, there's two reasons for it. There's 2 guys missing. But I think you could call on the question how they have developed in the post-USC matchup against 2 Power 4 teams. I didn't think the offensive line played great. But I am starting to grade Notre Dame's offensive line against playoff teams while not watching playoff teams. I think Pittsburgh's defensive line or defensive front 7 has some playoff moments the way they play football in there. And I've obviously Notre Dame got the job done in that regard. But defense is the right answer for both of you. The secondary is a lot better than it was. They were a train wreck against Miami and Texas A&M. The secondary was a train wreck. I know the linebackers didn't help because the linebackers were getting beat in certain situations too. But it was Carson Hobbs, Christian Gray's non-tackle on the sideline against A&M was one of the worst moments of the year for Notre Dame's football personnel. Jalen Stroman was not a match in that starting secondary as a playoff safety. He's a reserve. Devontae Smith was not healthy people forget he missed A&M. But the nickel was worked over against
Leonard, and that was the game Leonard Moore was injured. So,
yeah, right. And he played through it. He played the whole game. He probably intercepts a pass in the end zone if he's not injured. But yeah, they're this secondary, man, because now they're nationally elite secondary. They're not a better secondary. They're nationally elite secondary, which
Yeah.
they need.
The other
Next
part,
question.
do you want to ask the Jack Mac
I
99?
thought we covered it actually.
Okay.
But if you want to give Chris Ash more flowers, Jack Mac 99 would like you to give Chris Ash some flowers.
No problem here.
Yeah.
We've been seeing his praises, really since Game 4 when it started to turn around. It's incredible how productive they are, how confident they are. They're flying to the football. The progress of a Tay Johnson, good Lord. I mean he's a veteran football player. Think how good he's going to be. Yeah, I mean Chris Ash. We never said fire you, Chris Ash. Well, first of all, because you're not going to improve as a defense if you do something like that. But to improve, to pull it all together, and credit to Marcus Freeman for however he pulled it all together with Chris Ash, a phenomenal performance by this defense since the 10-quarter mark, halfway to the Purdue game.
Maybe Chris Ash is allergic to flowers. Maybe he doesn't want
Yeah,
flowers.
that's true.
Maybe you don't want your defensive coordinator carrying flowers. I don't know. But
He likes corn on the cob. We've not really
Chris,
learned that about Chris Ash. Yeah.
Chris Ash and Marcus Freeman have teamed together and made this a very ferocious defense, and again at the exact right time of the year.
From Aerofans 624, speaking of Marcus Freeman, when should we expect to hear about an extension for Marcus Freeman being announced?
He got one last year.
Yeah, he's getting one. He's getting more money this year. That is coming. That's official news. He's not, well, it's unofficial news actually. It's official news on this podcast. There has to be more money coming because of NFL overtures, and
Yeah.
it is coming. The money
I
will be
don't know.
coming.
JB, you know when it'll be announced? I don't know when it'll be announced, but Marcus is secure. His pocketbook is well secured.
Yeah, last year was a 6-year term that over the balance of it had around a 10 to 10.2, $10.3 million value on average, I was told. I would expect him to be pushed back out to a 6-year term, and some informal talks have already kind of unfolded over on campus.
Yeah, the raise is coming. I just don't know if the
Well,
I guess an extension comes with the raise, right? At least a year.
they'll at this point they will keep Marcus on a rotating 6-year pact as much as possible.
Good news for people, especially for Aerofan 624, who has submitted that question a few times. Next from Mumster. First of all, I'd like to thank Mumster because he says, thanks for all this crew does for ND football. Congratulations, guys. We are helping ND football survive in the modern era. That's good to know. Why can CJ Carr go under center from the half-yard line coming out of the end zone and run a QB sneak, but he can't do the same thing from the half-yard line going into the end zone? That part's going to go to Bryce, and this is going to go to Priester, Irish 1981. Are you shocked at the inability to adjust his scheme in the red zone by Mike Denbrock? What do you think about under center quarterbacks from a foot away, JB?
Yeah, well, you know where I stand on that. But now that we've seen him do it
Overtime, let me know where you stood on it too. So,
yeah, in a much more difficult situation, yes, read Zach Barnett's study at Football Scoop on 3rd and goal in shotgun. But anyway, yeah, we've seen him do it. I get what they're doing. You do run the risk of injury if you're in a big dog pile and you're in 3rd and goal right there, and you've got a bunch of people diving at your quarterback's hands and diving at your quarterback. I get why they have not done it. I think we have seen Mike Denbrock evolve some of his red zone and short yardage stuff. We saw a new wrinkle to Eli Raridan over in the Pittsburgh game, a nice little one where you think he's going to pass, and then they let him bluff the block and flip it over, and he got a first down out of it. I like that play a lot. That was kind of a new wrinkle I don't think we've seen this year. I still believe that Notre Dame will come to a point where it wants to utilize CJ Carr under center in a goal-to-go situation. But if I'm Notre Dame and I'm trying to manage some of these bodies until the postseason, I'm probably managing that scenario until the postseason as well.
Now you are.
I'm not saying it's a high-risk injury play, but you see it. You see quarterbacks get their fingers broken in those melees, especially if they're trying to reach the ball over. I bet they're working on it, and we have a chance to see it in the college football playoff.
Yeah, obviously very surprised that you're 10 games into the season and the offensive coordinator hasn't come up with a solution. I guess what I'm more surprised at is that we haven't seen whether it's different personnel, or some type of adjustment from the status quo. And the status quo is not getting it done. You know, if C.J. Carr's pass to Eli Raridon's on target and not beyond him, it's pretty hard to throw over a 6'7" guy's head, but he did. I mean, this is crazy. This football team is too good, is too great in too many areas to have to be dealing with something like this. It's bad enough that you have a huge kicking problem. You know, I would have expected some attempt with different personnel, whether it's Aeneas Williams. Kedron Young would have gotten an opportunity, I would like to think, at this point. Maybe he would have won the job, although remember in the preseason he said, "I'm not a short yardage guy." He's never looked at it like being a short yardage guy. So, you know, maybe not. But the one thing I don't know where else I'm going to be able to slip this in. We had fun with this. I had fun with it again. We did at the game and again in tail of the tape today. Eli Raridon has no clue where the sideline is. He is completely oblivious to where the playing surface is and where out of bounds is. How many plays did they review about him stepping out of bounds just in the Pittsburgh game alone? That has nothing to do with the question. I just want to throw that in there.
Next from Dallas Irish.
Dallas Irish, I got it, T.O. Sorry. Dallas Irish 83. Rank in order from least likely to most likely to play a football game for Notre Dame in December/January. Okay. Kicker Noah Burnett. Offensive guard Billy Schrouth. Defensive tackle Gabe Rubio. Offensive lineman Charles Jagusa. Wide receiver Jaden Greathouse. Tight end Cooper Flanagan.
I'll go first, JB. Schroth and Rubio. I will go Schroth 1, Rubio 2, because Schroth's injury is a little less complicated, I believe, than Rubio's. Then I decided you either got to put Jaden Greathouse right here or at the end of the list. So I'll put him right here. I'll put Jaden Greathouse here because it's either here at the end. Burnett, Flanagan, and Jagusa. Flanagan, I'm just concerned about the fact that he played 10 months after an Achilles tear, and he might not have been able to play 12 months after an Achilles tear. He had a different injury to come back from, and if he's feeling anything, it might not be worth it because 3 plays from Cooper Flanagan per game at 90% of his ability is probably not the same as 3 plays from James Flanagan, who could be the guy to come into that position. You might not want Cooper Flanagan to play if he's not available, if he can't really help you.
I think for me that it's Schrouth and Rubio and Burnett. He's already listed out with injury this week, which means they truly are trying to get him better, giving him an extended amount of time off. You can't rule out needing him to kick a field goal for you in December or January. So for me, I have those 3 first. And then I think Flanagan will have a chance to play in the playoffs. And then to me, Jagasaw and Greathouse are coin flips for different reasons. We don't know exactly where Jagasaw is from a physical standpoint, but he would absolutely return to help his team. We saw that a year ago. Greathouse we've seen him in recent weeks running really well, and then Marcus said he had to have the blood drained off of his thigh, and he wasn't practicing last week, and all of that doesn't impact his availability. If he doesn't appear the next 2 weeks, then plays 4 playoff games. It doesn't change the fact he would have 2 years of college football left. There's a dynamic to manage there. I think there's an interesting dynamic to manage there, especially as you've turned more to KK Smith. Gilbert got into the game Saturday at Pitt. I can't remember if Cam Williams did or not, but we've seen Cam Williams more in recent weeks. And so as much as Jaden Greathouse was your best receiver and one of the best receivers anywhere in college football last year, I think the dynamics of that one are more than just the health of Jaden Greathouse.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm going to list Rubio as the most likely because Marcus Freeman stated today that we would see him in the postseason. We didn't ask him, or he didn't talk about Burnett or Schrouth. I would think it's as soon as Burnett is healthy and ready to go, he probably would be the most consistent in practice. So I'd list him second. Billy Schrouth with the kneecap injury, I would probably list third. I would list Jagusa last, just because of the second surgery and we're not real clear exactly where he is. The thing with Greathouse, I mean, he'll be healthy for post regular season play, and you want to make sure that he comes back next year. You want him in the receiver rotation next year. I mean,
I don't know.
do you feel an obligation, Tim, to
I
get
don't
it?
feel they need to make sure he comes back at the same price tag. I think you just get someone else that didn't want a red shirt midway through your year, possibly. But if Jaden Greathouse can help your team win 4 playoff games, Marcus Freeman's going to play him. Like, it's still a difficult situation. It's still hard to. I mean, you could take away snaps from Micah Gilbert. Micah Gilbert fought his way back, but they're different players. Micah Gilbert was actually part of the goal line package earlier in the year. Only am pointing that out because they were more successful earlier in the year than they have been recently. Greathouse would be your fourth receiver by a distant margin going into the playoffs after not playing for 2 months. I would much rather have Will Pollock and CJ Carr's connection, and the other two you can't even bring up as a question mark, right? You can't even ask the question about who you'd rather have out there, Fields or Faison or Greathouse. So I don't know how it's going to go. I would guess that Jaden Greathouse will play for Notre Dame in the playoffs, but
Yeah,
I don't think it's anything to do with next year.
well, maybe. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, but there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is.
There's a
There's
lot
plenty.
that's being juggled there,
Yep.
from injury to NIL to playing time to et cetera, et cetera. So that one's a little bit of a difficult call.
Next question from Cold as Brian. What would the absolute doomsday scenario be for Notre Dame's playoff chances? In other words, is there a plausible way 10-2 ND does not get in? Let's say 10-2 ND that wins 49-7 and 42-14. So we're not saying they didn't open the door at all with their last 2 games.
I don't have all the computations or permutations ready yet, in part because I'm waiting for Tuesday night's unveiling.
Right.
The short answer is yes. Unfortunately, there is a doomsday scenario out there. The gist of it we touched on a little bit in the first segment, being that Oklahoma jumped Notre Dame in the polls. I think that there's a better than 50-50 shot that Alabama will be the number 9 team in the CFP rankings this week and knock Notre Dame down to number 10. And then you start getting worried because 11 or 12 right now, the ACC is so terrible, and the Group of 5 team is lurking so far down that it's not. A year ago, you couldn't be the 12 team. Like, you did not want to be the 12 team. That was technically, I think, Alabama. Alabama got left out. This year, you can't be the 11 or 12 with where things are right now. On top of that, you have to worry about Texas Tech winning out and then losing the Big 12 title game to a 2-loss Cincinnati or to a potentially 2-loss BYU or whomever. There's potential for real chaos. I think I saw where there's potential for 4 or 5 teams in the Big 12 to finish in a second place tie behind Texas Tech. So, like, if a Utah goes and beats Texas Tech, but Texas Tech is 11-1 going into the conference championship game, Texas Tech's not getting left out. I'm just telling you right now.
No, they're
Texas
not. They're not.
Texas Tech at 11-1, presumably the number 3 or number 4 team in the CFP rankings by that point in time, is not going to lose to a Utah or a BYU and get knocked out. But that guarantees the Big 12 too. Then you have all these other things. I
You got
don't.
Michigan. You got Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. You need Michigan to lose. Tom Zwiller was the first to point that out, and they should have lost Saturday to
Yeah.
Northwestern.
They'll lose. They'll
The
lose.
Wildcats did me no solids for that, and they could lose this week at Maryland. Maryland is just athletic enough, and Michigan is just not dynamic enough that one play could decide that game. I don't think they'll lose, but they could lose. But those are the scenarios. When we're asked about it, yes, there's a doomsday scenario. The easiest route to that doomsday scenario is that you see Alabama and Oklahoma continue to be ranked right in front of Notre Dame, and then you also see someone other than Texas Tech win the Big 12 championship.
I can't add to. I can't add to. You guys covered it all, but I just want to say this: next year, when it's preseason, and we're asking the question, will a 10-2 Notre Dame team make the playoffs? Understand that there are 1.3 million things that can happen between now and the end of the season, beyond the conference championship games. You just can't put a number on it like that. There's too much can happen, and we see it right here. And JB, I think, did an excellent job of explaining it.
JB, I apologize if you said this, but Georgia Tech's involved in this scenario very heavily because Georgia Tech beating Georgia,
Correct.
finishing with one loss, and losing the ACC championship game
Correct.
is
Correct.
ahead of Notre Dame in the playoff.
Correct. That's
They
another
are.
one. Yes.
And they
That's
could
one
have
I
lost to
maybe.
BC.
Yeah. Well, and Notre Dame never could have lost to
Notre
BC,
Dame never could have lost to BC.
but didn't look
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And who knows? Georgia Tech has Pitt this week. Suddenly, I would think Notre Dame fans
Yep. Oh, yeah.
say HTP enough, Hail to Pitt enough this week. Channel your old Tony Dorsett and Johnny Majors vibes and cheer on the Panthers. But yeah, that's a real one. That's absolutely a real one. That's why I say you cannot rule it out that there is a doomsday scenario for Notre Dame that at 10-2 it's not in the playoffs. I still like Notre Dame's chances, but you breathe a lot easier for that long week after Stanford if you've had some other teams around you lose and you're not sweating a bunch of chaos scenarios on conference championship Saturday.
Our next question comes from Wash ND. Like the Love Cat, he means the Wildcat with Jeremiah Love, is it time to retire the wide receiver screen this season? It might be an overstatement, but it has had less success recently. It has become a very low upside play that also has had severe negative consequences at least twice. It could have had a third negative consequence. Tim, what game were we watching? Was it it was the BC game where just an absolute how would you throw the ball over there was not picked off.
Well,
Yeah.
I think are we talking about eliminating these passes to Jordan Faison? Oh, is that
No, I think well, I mean there's the two boundaries to phase on. There's the one to Love that just shouldn't have been thrown against. I think people you and I were sitting there in the pit
Oh
game.
yeah. It's like
yeah. There's no reason to throw that pass. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes there is a benefit from having a higher view of the game from the press box. No, I mean just do it better, do it smarter. It's too integral. It's too much of an integral part of good things that can happen for your offense. No, I don't agree with that. Do it better and get your quarterback who's making a lot of good decisions, but not all the time. And don't throw it. And Micah Gilbert shouldn't be, a target on one of those kind of passes, what have you. It's an integral part of what you do. Rep it more, do it better. Marcus Freeman would say the exact same thing.
Interestingly enough, they have had 6 incomplete passes behind the line of scrimmage, which I'm making this part up, but it seems like a lot to me, honestly. We know the interception that happened behind the line of scrimmage was Miami. They've also had 3 interceptions on screen passes or thereabouts. Make it 2, because I remember one of these was not a screen, on passes thrown under 5 yards. So they've actually had some odd calamity on that. I don't count the pass tipped at Miami. Against Texas A&M by CJ Carr as a screen pass. He was going a little bit further down the field. The ball just happened to not travel 5 yards. But I would like to see what I wanted to see last year from Riley Leonard. They really never did it. I'd like to see a fake screen set up and something over the top of it because that would slow things down on those guys attacking.
And so then you build that builds upon the screen pass to them, which is why you keep it in and come back to it because you have the variety to offer the opponent. Absolutely. I understand the question. You don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah, one thing I would just quickly interject is like we saw Mitchapalooza a few years ago, and Mitch Evans had played quarterback in high school, so it was a little bit different. But um, Eli Raridan is so skilled. I would not be deathly opposed of Eli Raridan under center in a goal-to-goal situation. Like he's playing better than he's ever played. He's an athlete. He's big. He's strong. Like it's not. I don't know. Maybe it is the worst idea. I'm biased because it's mine, so I don't think it's the worst.
It's Will Black that took some snaps at quarterback, right? Early in high school.
Yeah, but you're not doing that now. You're not.
No. You can't. No, he doesn't play. I know, but that's there's the Mitchell Palooza thing. I did ask Tommy Reese about it, and he mentioned he had no problem ever taking the snap under center, so it was not an issue for us that we had to rep. Especially, if we're doing that, I would stick to Tyler Buckner. If you're looking to revamp 4th and 1, I go to a guy that probably did that better than he threw the ball down the field.
We have a question from Eastex 903. Do you think Jay Love at least solidified an invite to the Heisman ceremony with Saturday's performance? A nationally broadcasted game and being interviewed on College Game Day pregame couldn't have hurt.
The spin move didn't hurt either. Because a regular 56-yard touchdown where you just make one really nice cut like he does very often would not have been the same impact.
And you don't execute that spin move if you don't practice it. Watch it.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. He comes out shoulder square, balanced, and immediately getting upfield as soon as he comes out of the spin.
I am with Desmond Howard and a couple other people. This is not just a quarterback award. Why are we showing Davey O'Brien watch lists for Heisman lists? He's the best player in the country. He should be in New York.
Yeah, I was looking for a specific text I got from an ACC coach over the weekend because I was going to read it on the show today before even seeing that question. But now let me find it real quickly, and you'll have to bear with me having to bleep some of the language out. But it was very complimentary of Jeremiah Love. And holy Aish, Jeremiah Love is that guy. First round draft pick freak. Then follow up, Jeremiah Love is the Heisman, I promise you. That's from an opposing ACC coach who saw Jeremiah Love against Pitt on Saturday.
We should put dollars down then because he is plus 3,000 along with Gunnar Stockton in 5th place.
I have a hard time predicting that he wins it. I guarantee he's going to be there.
Haynes King should be higher than plus 4,000. Haynes King deserves to be in this conversation.
Oh, my God.
Too. He carries the whole team.
Jeremiah Love,
the whole offense. I mean,
Jeremiah Love will be in New York for the Heisman.
Yeah, well, he's not going to hurt his case. This game against Syracuse, I think they'd like to get Jeremiah a few carries in the first half and see what can happen.
I would think he would be in New York. I'm very close to agreeing with you. They don't have to bring 5. I think last year might have only been 4. It all depends on the voting. I would expect him to be there. Certainly Ty Simpson and Alabama losing over the weekend from an individual standpoint should boost Jeremiah Love.
He is way down there now, JB, to plus 15, plus 15,000.
But he was getting a lot of love as the front runner going into this past weekend. And so, that's where it is. But I thought they used to have to take 5. They don't have to take 5. It's based on voting.
Guess what? In 2005, Notre Dame fans will remember this very well. They didn't take 4 because Brady Quinn was easily number 4. Now he wasn't going to win it. He was going to come in number 4. But Reggie Bush, Vince Young, and Matt Leinart were 1, 2, 3, and they didn't even invite Brady Quinn. They didn't even bring 4 that year. That's not cool. Brady Quinn probably would have liked being there for the Heisman and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
and he earned it.
I think it's wide open enough that you
got to bring that.
You go to 4. When's the last time they did 5?
I think 2 years ago there might.
Okay,
have been.
yeah.
I think
That's
last
what I thought.
year there was only 4.
Yeah, you can argue that. I mean, should Jeremiah Smith's the best player in the country?
Miss a little time with injury, right? That could and he could miss more time with injury too.
I get it.
Next question from Brokeback Brian, returning to our podcast. Wonderful name. Is Notre Dame's leading receiver in 2026 on this team? What about its leading rusher? That's fantastic. I'll say no twice.
Faison's far and away the leader in receptions. Malachi Fields is going to be gone after this year.
I'm saying they're bringing in a Malachi Fields and a Will Pauling, though, so then it comes down to that.
And I'm sure they will, but still, it's too easy to get the football to Jordan Faison for him not to be the leading receiver. Now, he didn't. Hey, credit to him. I'm digging into my tail of the tape here. He was only targeted twice. He got 1 pass, didn't really do anything, but he had a strong impact returning punts. He had 3 punt returns. 1 was for 21 yards. He had 36 yards on punt returns. Those are 3 first downs that you saved your offense from having to get. And they were clutch returns, a bounce, one where he used his blockers to set himself up to cross the field. I just want to shout out for Jordan Faison because I thought he impacted the game even though he really didn't impact it at wide receiver.
I'm glad you brought that up, TP. I think Drew and I brought that up on Overtime Live Saturday night. And I believe 2 of the returns went for 36 yards, and then the other one was a zero.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
0-yard return.
Right.
But more importantly, you talked about it. He played shortstop on a couple of those. So he had 36 yards in returns. I would contend it was 56 yards or more in value. If you watch the replay and see those punts again, the hidden yardage, he saved Notre Dame so much hidden yardage with his willingness to field those punts. that I thought it was one of the, it got lost in the shuffle of the game and Notre Dame won the contest going away. But when it was in the game's early moments and they forced some of those punts, I thought that they were really super high football IQ and super high football athletic ability. So I'll say I think Jordan Faison can be the leading receiver next year. I'm a coin flip on the leading rusher being on the roster because Aeneas Williams has burned a year, and I don't really understand how he's been utilized this year.
I'm unlike last year where it was about this much of a lead for Mitchell Evans over Jaden Greathouse going into the last game of the year. I said Jaden Greathouse could catch Mitchell Evans for receptions. Malachi Fields, what Faison have one catch, so he has 44. Fields had 7, so he's got 32. He won't catch him, but it's gonna be closer. He's not gonna win this by a wide margin this year.
No,
Malachi Fields gonna have another 6-catch game and another 5-catch game.
It'll be closer, but it's just too easy of a completion to Jordan Faison for him not to.
I will take the field because that includes the portal over Faison, and I will take a flat out no for the leading rusher on Notre Dame is on the roster this year. Although that's just taking the field. I guess I'll just take the field without saying a flat out no because I wanted to take the field. That's the way to go with that one. Faison, though, good point. Like, if 3 guys catch more passes than they did this year, Faison could have 51, somebody else could have 45, and somebody else could have 39. So that's a valid point. Final question. Drew Brennan. Is there any concern with how CJ Carr looked on Saturday against a stronger defense? He had some balls tipped, 2 bad INTs, almost a disaster fumble at the end of the first half. Does Saturday's performance give you any pause around Carr against playoff caliber defenses?
Sure. I mean, Pittsburgh has a really good defense. They do that to a lot of quarterbacks. He's looked like a freshman more in the second half of the season than he did in the first. I want to bring up what Marcus Freeman said today, which we mentioned in our instant analysis about, like, he was really pleased with the decision making that he had this past weekend at Pittsburgh. That it's hidden stuff. We don't always recognize that he's making a change or making a change of the play before the snap or avoiding putting the football somewhere where he shouldn't. I thought the 7-yard loss, the pass to Jeremiah Love, was a bad decision, but yet if you watch the replay of that was due largely to Emil Wagner just kind of whiffing on, I don't remember which defender it was for Pittsburgh, and so I don't think Carr had a real good chance of diagnosing that was going to be snuffed out. But yeah, he's still a freshman quarterback, and yeah, as you get into the playoffs, you're definitely playing good defenses. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there, generally speaking. But what are you going to do? He's CJ Carr. I think he's going to be a great Notre Dame quarterback, and he's exactly the guy you want leading them into the playoffs. I wish he ran the quarterback sneak under center from the 1-yard line better. But other than that, pretty confident with him at quarterback going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think there's some just overriding, paralyzing concern. I'll continue to say what I say almost every single podcast, and I apologize for the repetition. But every experience is a completely brand new experience for CJ Carr. He's not just a redshirt freshman. He's a redshirt freshman who played minimally, if that, before ever this year. Had 1 or 2 snaps at Purdue, whatever it was. So everything is new. I'm not as concerned because of the supporting cast around him. This is a Notre Dame offensive line that could get a Billy Schrauth back, or maybe even a Charles Jagasaw that has improved, that is seeing Sullivan Absher get better, that is seeing Joe Otting get better, that is getting some good play from other places. So, yeah, I mean, you analyze the matchups, but there's nothing about CJ Carr that makes me think, oh man, he's headed toward losing Notre Dame a game. I don't see that at all. And forget what I say. Hearing Marcus Freeman talk about how smart CJ Carr is, that he sees stuff that the coaches don't see and haven't prepped him for. Like, he's got a little bit of gunslinger in him. You live with those interceptions. You don't want them, but you live with them. So, that's how I answer it.
I mean, CJ Carr is one of the best players of the team, so it doesn't matter. But cause for pause? All right. The 4 best defenses are Miami, A&M, USC, and Pitt, right? Six touchdowns, 5 picks. All the other teams, 15 touchdowns, 1 pick. it's harder to play good defenses. So yeah, I have cause for pause. I don't think it's CJ Carr though. I think Notre Dame's offense won't be. We had a question 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It had to be after Navy. Must have been after Navy. Is this the best offense you've seen at Notre Dame? I can't remember an offense that can hit you passing and running as well as this one. Oh, I don't know. I'll let you know after 2 playoff games because it's going to be a absolute slugfest, no matter who Notre Dame opens with in this playoffs. It is. Look, the Indiana defense played great against Notre Dame, save for a 98-yard touchdown run. It just shut them up and ended everything. But like it's the defense is the key to the playoffs. They are going to have to win games without scoring 31 points. I promise you, these are not going to be 38-35 playoff games. So I don't have concern for CJ Carr. I have concern for the offense.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Tim. That CJ Carr and Notre Dame's offense best friend is the defense that's playing tremendous football on all 3 levels.
But I'll take CJ Carr in a playoff game. Like if I have concern, Absolutely. I have concern for other teams' quarterbacks too, going against Notre Dame's defense. So because Notre Dame's defense isn't Minnesota, and Notre Dame's defense isn't Wake Forest. I mean, it's going to be hard when you play with your quarterback against Notre Dame's defense as well. So CJ Carr, the least of the worries. I wouldn't say the offense is the least of the worries, though. Kicker, also not the least of the worries, Tim Priester. No, we will be back.
That's still part of the game, right? That's
yeah,
still
it is. You cannot do it, but we'll be back on Thursday, November 20th, with another edition of Irish Illustrated Insider to preview Syracuse and some Senior Day stuff. Until then, Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated, John Bryce. I'm Tim O'Malley. Thanks for watching and listening. Irish Illustrated Insider.